Okay, in the Rambam Halacha Tes. Afal pi shekachi halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Even though that this is the case, that this is halacha l'Moshe Sinai, that you have to write the Sefer Torah on Gvil, and so forth. Im kasav Sefer Torah ala klaf kasher. If you write a Sefer Torah on klaf, it's still kosher. Lo ne'amar Gvil ela l'ma'at duchsustos. And the reason it says Gvil is to exclude duchsustos. Shim kasav alav a Sefer puzzle. That if you write a Sefer Torah on duchsustos, it's puzzle. Even though we brought in the Kesef Mishna that according to Tana the Beit Menashe, he doesn't make a distinction, but the Rambam says that duchsustos is puzzle. Similarly, the mezuzah that it says you should write it on duchsustos, if you write it on gvil or klaf, it's also kosher. Lo amru al duchsustos ela mitzvah. They only said to write it on duchsustos that's the mitzvah. That's how it's expected. The right way to write a mezuzah is on the duchsustos, but you could also write it on gvil or klaf. Now in the Kesef Mishna, afal pi shekachi hu halacha l'Moshe Sinai v'chulu, that even though that's the halacha l'Moshe Sinai, beperek kama de Baba Basra daf Yodalid. So in Baba Basra, Shalus Rebbe, they asked Rebbe, Sefer Torah bekama, how much in a Sefer Torah? Amar begvil shisha tvachim. He says if you write it in gvil, the size should be 6 tfachim. Beklaf ein yodea, but I don't know how large the sefer should be if you write it on klaf. Midlo midchar duchsustos, and from the fact that Rebbe didn't mention duchsustos, alma duchsustos klalo, that implies that duchsustos is not at all considered. V'afal gav de beperek hamotzi shabsayin tes. Even though that in one of the Hamotzi Prakim and Shabbos, Tana de Beit Menashe, like the Kesef Mishna brought previously, about from Tana de Beit Menashe, Kasva ala klaf ala gvil val duchsustos, that if you read it on klaf or gvil or duchsustos ksher, v'kumor b'sefer Torah, and it's established this statement of Tana de Beit Menashe, Kasva al haklaf al hagvil val duchsustos kshera, is about Sefer Torah. Rabbi lo svira lehachi. But even though that's the opinion of Tana de Beit Menashe, Rabbi doesn't hold like that. V'kavasi kaimalan, and we hold like Rabbi. Duhu adif min Tana de Beit Menashe, because he is more important. His halacha has more clout than Tana de Beit Menashe. And further, then Yerushalmi in the first parak of Megillah, of Masechet Sofrim Perakama, Ktani Gabi Sefer Torah. We learn there in Yerushalmi and Masechet Sofrim concerning a Sefer Torah, Kosvin al haklaf b'makom basar, that it says there you write it on the klaf on the place of the flesh, al hagvil b'makom se'ar, and on the gvil on the place of the hair. Midlo midchri duchsustos, and there in the fact it doesn't mention where you would write it if it was on duchsustos. Alma karebi sfiralan. So that again tells us that we hold like Rebbe. Similarly, the law of mezuzah, that it's permissible to write it on gvil or klaf. Braisa perek hamotzi yain. This is a braisa in hamotzi yain. Kasav mezuzah ala klaf psula. That it says if you write a mezuzah on klaf, it's puzzle. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Rabbi Meir hayakusve al haklaf. That Rabbi Meir would write it on klaf. Mipnei shemishtameres, because it lasts longer that way. It guards it. V'so Rabbeinu de Rebbe Meir kaimalon. And the Rambam holds that we hold like Rabbi Meir in this. Remember, Rabbi Meir is the one who wrote a Sefer Torah where you have kusnos or spelled with an aleph. So Rabbi Meir was bevus the sofer. So too the poskim say that this is the halacha that you can write mezuzah on klaf. V'taima mishum de avad ba uvda. And the reason is because we see a maisa, we see that somebody did something like that. It's not just a svara, but the fact that it brings a story, it brings a action that somebody did, that we know that he did write mezuzah on klaf. And further, that Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar holds like him. And further, in the Gemara, Ma'asinan la l'siyui, l'stam, Limudei, that the Gemara brings it there as a support for another teaching. The Amra, the mezuzah nechteves ala klaf, to say that mezuzah is written on klaf. So we're already bringing that as a support for something else. So if we're already bringing it as so it must be that that's the halacha. If you can bring it as a support. And further, Rav also holds like this and says it like that over there. No one argues on Rav. Vikasha, and this is a question. This is difficult. The im kain, that if so, ki tanya halach lamosh mesinai mezuzah ala duchsustos. When it says that the halach lamosh mesinai is that you write mezuzah on duchsustos, nisni ala duchsustos v'ala klaf. It should have said on duchsustos and on klaf. Elavade mashma the mitzvah duchsustos. The mitzvah duchsustos ba'inan. That if you want to do the mitzvah, you need duchsustos. That's why it's halach lamosh mesinai. Duchsustos is the right way to do it. And that's what the Rif writes in the laws of mezuzah, to write it on duchsustos. The Kesef Aran bePerek Hamotzi Yain, and so the Ran writes in Perek Hamotzi Yain there. Afal gav the lishna de haya kosva lechatchila mashma. Even though that the fact that it says that he would write it on the klaf, haya kosva al haklaf, from about Rabbi Meir, that implies that he would do it lechatchila. He would write it on klaf. So even though it implies lechatchila, even though he would write it on klaf when he didn't have duchsustos, not to say that you could write on klaf lechatchila, but if you don't have duchsustos to do it the right way, he would write it on klaf. Inami shebemakom hatzarich shimur, or like it says that it guards it in a stronger way. If it's in a place that needs to be guarded. Like it's in a place where it'll be hit or something regularly. He would write it on klaf because it guards it better than duchsustos, and that's the end of the quote from the Ran in Perek Hamotzi Yain. And this that the Rambam writes that you can write a mezuzah also in Gvil. The kivin dehada amina mezuzah ala duchsustos hainu lemitzvah. That this that we write that you can write that we write a mezuzah on duchsustos, and that's the best way to do it. Im isa de ala gvil pasula nitni mezuzah ala duchsustos v'ala klaf lemiute gvil. It should have excluded gvil explicitly by saying you can write mezuzah on duchsustos or on klaf, and exclude gvil. And the fact that it would have brought duchsustos first would have implied that was the mitzvah. Why? Because it's better to teach you, or even if you don't know that the duchsustos is better, but it's better to teach us something to exclude that you shouldn't use it than to teach us something you should do if there's more than one option. Because you definitely should not, according to that, do it on Gvil if it would have said it that way. And that would have been a mikshol to write it on Gvil. But it doesn't do that. Elavade ala Gvil kosher, but certainly it's kosher to write a mezuzah on Gvil. V'lo ne'amar duchsustus ala mitzvah, and it only says duchsustus for the mitzvahs, for the best way to do it, kanal, like we said before. V'haran kasav b'perek hamutzi raya acheres. But the Ran brings in perek hamutzi yain a different proof why Gvil is permissible. I guess you'd have to look over there. Halacha Yud. Ein kosvin svarim tefillin mezuzos al gabi or behemat mea. We do not write svarim, Sefer Torah, tefillin or mezuzos on the skin of an impure animal. Ve'of v'chaya hatmeim, or a bird or a wild animal that are tamei. Aval kosvin al gabi or behema v'chaya ve'of tehorim. But we can write it on the skin of of a livestock or a wild animal or bird that are pure. And even the nevela utrefa, the dead animals that weren't shechted and so forth, or they were shechted but they weren't kosher, they were treif. Main kosvin al gabi or hadag, but we do not write on the skin of a fish, hatahor, the kosher fish, because it has a lot of yucky stuff. It has a lot of zuhama. It doesn't get completely clean. Sheno zuhama posekas bibuda. You can't get rid of it even if you work it, even if you ovade that cloth. You can't change it to be a proper writing material. Okay, in the Kesef Mishna, Yod ein kosvin sfarim v'chulu ad shelahen. So we do not write sfarim until shelahen, which is nevelos u'trefos shelahen. Braisa b'Shabbos perek Shmona Shratzim daf kufches. This is a braisa in Shabbos Shmona Shratzim about the skin of different animals. Umashikasav shenichtavin al gabi or shel of tahor, and this that you can write it on the skin of a kosher bird. Memra de Rav Huna sham lechora. The reishe is lechora Rav Huna. V'chol hani afal gav de gabi tefillin misnu. Even though all of these are learned by tefillin, I guess it's talking about tefillin there. It really, it's only talking about one of them, but really you can apply this to Sfarim and Mezuzos as well. Because we've learned in another place that the only difference between Sfarim and Tefillin and Mezuzos is in such and such a thing. And therefore, in other things, we can assume that they're the same. And we have the ability to establish this rule in all those places that we don't see Chazal make a distinction between them. That it's in those things that it's divided between these things, and not in any other. So in everything else, we can compare Sfarim and Tefillin and Mezuzos. And we do not write it on the skin of a fish. Ba mar sham, it says, I guess over there in Shmona Shratzim, boy mar berei de Ravina, Rav Nachman. Mar, the son of Ravina, asked of Rav Nachman, Bez Yud, maybe also Yom, Ma'u lichtov tefillin al gabi or shel dag tahor. What would be the halacha if you want to write tefillin on the skin of a kosher fish. Amar le im yavo Eliyahu v'yomer yipasuk zuamine ilo paska. So he says, if Eliyahu would come and tell us that you could really get rid of the zuama, the when you work it, or it doesn't go away. If Eliyahu could clarify that for us, then we can establish that you could write it on it. But we don't have the clarity to say that when you work it, the zuama goes away. And therefore, the Rambam paskins l'chumra, and I guess it's not exactly a teku, but it is that we have to wait for Eliyahu, and he goes l'chumra in the suffix. Halacha Yud Aleph. Gvil shel Sefer Torah, v'klaf shel tefillin, or shel Sefer Torah. If you have gvil of a Sefer Torah, or klaf of tefillin or a Sefer Torah, tzarich l'abedosan l'shman, you have to work them with the right intention. With it has to be l'shma. And look in the poskim about whether or not you have to actually say it, and when you have to say it, so forth. I guess it's a sofer and bar shama and so forth. And if you work them and not lishma, so these skins are puzzle. You cannot use them for a Sefer Torah and so forth. Therefore, if a non-Jew works them, it's puzzle. Even if we tell this kusi to work this skin for the sake of a sefer, or for the sake of tefillin, it's puzzle. Because a non-Jew who's working it, he does it for his own purposes. We don't say that he can properly have the intention for the mitzvah. Lo aldas hasochir, and not for the intent of the one who hired him. Therefore, anything that needs an action that has to be with a proper intent, if a non-Jew does it for you, it's possible we cannot consider that he had that intent. But if for mezuzah, it doesn't need to be worked lishma. Therefore, I guess a kusi could work the skin for mezuzah. Okay, in the Kesef Mishna, Yud Aleph gvil shel Sefer Torah v'chulu. If you have the gvil of a Sefer Torah, begitten perek and nezikin, daf nun dalar amud beis aminen dahuda amar Sefer Torah shekasavti gvilin shebo lo avaditim lishman. So it brings there about somebody that says that the Sefer Torah that I wrote, it's the gvilin in it, I did not work those skins for the sake of the Sefer. I did not do it lishma. Neman, we say we trust this person. I'm sorry. And we say that we makes it puzzle by the admission of the sofer or the one who worked these skins, who comes and admits that he didn't do it right. And this that it says in this halacha in the Rambam that anything that needs an action with the proper intent, if the non-Jew does it, it's possible. This is what we bring in the second chapter in Gittin, that we have this general rule that a non-Jew does it for his own purposes. He has his intent is separate for himself. We cannot attach it to the intent of the one who hired him. And further, the halacha that a mezuzah does not need the proper intent. Where do we learn this? So the Chochmei Lunel from France already asked the Rambam about this, where he learned this from. Veheshiv v'zelashon, and the Rambam himself answers, and this is how he writes. Yilamdeinu Rabbeinu mipnei ma or shel mezuzah einu tzarich ibud lishma. So I guess it starts with the lashon of the Chachmei Lunel that they asked, teach us, Rabbi Rabbeinu, why does the skin of mezuzah not need to be worked with a proper intent? Even though the Sefer Torah and the Tefillin do need to be worked with the right intention, and they become puzzled if you don't work them lishma. And if it's because it calls a mezuzah a lighter kedusha in comparison to them, we see that tefillin is also called a light kedusha in comparison to Sefer Torah. It doesn't necessarily make a distinction between the tefillin and the mezuzah in calling them kedusha kala. They're both called kedusha kala, the lighter holiness. Why can't we do the same thing for the tefillin and be ma'abed lo shelo lishma? Tshuva, and the answer, lo mipnei zeh. And the Rambam says it's not because of this. It's but we don't find in the mezuzah that it should be worked lishma. Meaning to say, we find it in other places by the Sefer Torah, by the mezuzah, that it mentions that it was worked lishma. But we don't find that by mezuzah it mentions such a thing. And wherever it's said the halacha, it's said. But if it wasn't said, it wasn't said. That's the rule the Rambam used to say that here we applied the halacha like this, and here we apply the halacha like this. We see by Sefer Torah and Tefillin that it mentions ibud lishma, but it never mentions it by mezuzah. Therefore, we do not apply that halacha there. Im Tomer, my time Sefer Torah v'Tefillin tzrichin ibud lishma. And if you want to say, why is it that Sefer Torah and Tefillin need to be worked lishma? Levisha atzma shel Sefer Torah v'atzma shel Tefillin heim hamitzvah. That's because the Sefer Torah itself and the Tefillin themselves are the mitzvah. So I guess the Rambam is explaining the svara behind it. Why is it that we see by Sefer Torah and Tefillin that they need this lishma? It's because they themselves are the mitzvah. Therefore, they have an extra importance. And therefore, you have to work their skin with the proper intent. In order to be careful when you do the ibud, that they should last a long time, many days. Mitzvah I'm sorry, mezuzah, but the mezuzah itself is not the mitzvah. And it's not considered a mitzvah on its own without the house. The house is obligated in mezuzah. And if you do not have a house, you do not have a mezuzah. It does not have meaning unless it's attached to a house. But Sefer Torah and Tefillin are an obligation of the body, of the person, that's constant. I guess it's like the difference between the gufa and the chefza. Although both of them are contingent upon something else. It's a person who needs the Sefer Torah and the Tefillin, and it's the house that needs the mezuzah. But I guess you have to own the house or live in it. But here we see a distinction between something that's obligated on the person, on the goof, and something that's for the chefza, for the bias. Just give me a minute, okay?
Sure. Yes, ready.
Thank you. And this that says that we didn't hear the so that's the end of the quote from the Rambam. Now the Kesef Mishnah says that the Rambam says we didn't see an obligation for lishma for the mezuzah. And this that he says at the end, that the mezuzah itself is not the mitzvah. So why does he have to bring two reasons? He could have just said lo nishma, and then he brings a svara that one is the chovas haguf and one is the chovas habayis. Why does he have to bring that as well? That's what the Kesef Mishnah is asking here. That if I would have just said that we didn't hear about this alone, lo michra midi, it wouldn't have been enough. Because we already learned that we don't make distinctions between tefillin and mezuzah and sifrei Torah, unless it's specifically pointed out. So the fact that it doesn't mention it, we would have assumed that it's the same by mezuzah. But this itself, the truth is, the Kesef Mishnah says, the Mechaber says, Rav Beis Yosef, of Yosef Cairo, he questions this svara of the Rambam that he wrote to Chochmei Luna. It is a wonder in my eyes. The minayin lanu lomar kain. How do you? Where do we learn to say such a thing? If we haven't seen a distinction in Chazal between the Sefer Torah and the Tefillin and the Mezuzah, why are you being mechalek between them with a svara? It's meaning to say that that the Rambam, the reason the Rambam brought this extra svara was because it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough just to say that lo nishma, that we never saw such a thing. Because we don't make a distinction. And then he brings a svara. But the Kesef Mishnah says, why is that enough? Why is it enough to bring a svara to make the distinction? And he leaves it on that question.